Welcome to this short movie on the essentials of defibrillation. Let's start by learning how to make the right connections. This is a Zoll ALS series multifunction defibrillator found in multiple locations throughout the operating room. The red arrows show the position of the defibrillator paddles. This is important because one of these paddles will be connected to a large thick defibrillation power cord. It's shown by the red arrow. The power cord ends in a plug with a red tab to identify it. Using chest paddles during a surgical procedure will often require trespass into or near the surgical field, so chest pads applied preoperatively are much more appropriate for use in the operating room. This is the paddle with the red socket that is connected to the large wide power cord. Note that the connection between the paddle and the power cord has a black release button with a black arrow. Retract the button in the direction of the black arrow to release the power cord. This is an awkward maneuver, and releasing the power cord in the stress of a cardiac arrest can be difficult. And this is what the red plug at the end of the power cord looks like. Once the power cord is free, it's an easy job to connect it to the chest pads. Identify the white connectors on the chest pads and insert each into the red sockets of the power cord. There's only one position in which they will attach and will function, so it's important to be familiar with this arrangement. Because chest paddles are used infrequently in the OR and disconnecting the power cord from the chest paddles is awkward, there are a few Zoll defibrillators in our OR in which the paddles have already been removed. The power cord is connected to a socket on the side of the device as shown above. This makes removal and connection of the defibrillator chest pads much more convenient. How to defibrillate. This is the Zoll defibrillator. There are 4 simple steps. These are 1, 2A, 2B and 3. Go from the bottom to the top. 1 select defib. 2A select energy. 2B select charge. And 3 deliver the shock. Everybody clear? Welcome to this guide to the Zoll R-Series Advanced Life Support Unit. Luckily, as anesthesiologists, we don't get to use this device frequently, but that can unfortunately lead to unfamiliarity with the device. This brief video will introduce you to, or reacquaint you with, the versatile functions of this device. This amazing multifunction unit can help you with virtually any challenge you face during a cardiac arrest. It really is worthwhile spending a little time familiarizing yourself with this unit. This investment of time will pay you back manyfold in the future. This unit is found outside of room 2. However, other units can be found outside of rooms 5, 13, in the PACU, and in each of the cardiac operating rooms. This unit will automatically perform a daily self-test to ensure that it is fully charged and ready to go. A little window to the top right of the main screen indicates its current status. A little green check mark in the window indicates that the unit is fully functional. A red X indicates that there is a malfunction. The machine should be evaluated by the biomedical technicians. You may not be familiar with the R series, but you're almost certainly familiar with its predecessors. The great thing is that the company have kept the operating system pretty much the same as in previous versions. So, even if you're unfamiliar with the screen in the R series, you will soon be able to operate the device because it is very similar to previous versions you may have used. Note a selection of menu options along the bottom of the screen which can be activated by the soft keys. The central mode selection switch is exactly the same as other versions of the Zoll defibrillator. Monitoring mode is the most basic mode. It is EKG monitoring of the patient, and by connecting up a cable and a set of electrodes to the patient's chest, you can monitor the patient's EKG. This is the usual monitoring setup that we are all familiar with: an EKG cable and some chest electrodes. Note that the EKG cable plugs in to the back of the monitor for EKG monitoring. A new feature which may cause some confusion initially is that the power cord, which would normally be connected to the chest pads, is actually connected to the right hand side chest defibrillator paddle. If you want to deliver a shock, turn the central mode selection switch to defibrillation, and you can select sync in the bottom right hand corner by pressing the soft key below it. This option is labelled defibrillation on the central dial. However, it is probably best thought of as shock delivery mode because you have two options, either defibrillation or synchronized cardioversion. When in defibrillation mode, if you know the rhythm and you know it must be defibrillated, just follow the instructions 1 through 3 on the screen. If you're just not sure what the rhythm is, or you're just not sure whether to deliver a shock, then your best option is to select Analyze. If you do this, then the machine will instruct you whether a shock is needed, and you can deliver the shock manually. Here are some useful notes on the Analyze function of the device. Here are more details on the rhythm analysis function. Now let's consider the pacing mode. For successful pacing, you will need EKG monitoring and chest pads. It's pretty obvious that the Zoll defibrillator cannot pace a patient if it does not know what the rhythm is. So for pacing to be successful using our standard chest pads, you must connect up the EKG monitoring cable. There is a very sophisticated chest pad system available called the one-step pacing system, but these chest pads are extremely expensive and are not standard stock items at Albany Medical Centre. In both pacing mode and shock mode, the Zoll has a very useful prompt function which directs you to the next step. For example, here in the pacing mode, it is directing you to select the current for pacing in milliamps and the rate at which you want to pace. Note that when you are in defibrillation mode, the Zoll device automatically provides information on how CPR is going. Look at the top horizontal row at the top of the screen in purple font. In effect, the information you get at the top of the screen is giving you excellent feedback on the quality of the CPR that is being performed during the resuscitation. Another really useful function is look-through CPR. That is, the machine has the ability to look at the rhythm underlying the chest compressions, so you do not have to stop chest compressions to evaluate the underlying rhythm. The Zoll R series also supports a range of important physiological monitoring systems. Clearly, it provides EKG monitoring, but there are also ports on the back of the machine to support non-invasive blood pressure, pulse oximetry and capnography. The 2010 iteration of ACLS emphasizes the importance of end-tidal carbon dioxide monitoring, and this is supported in the Zoll R series by the use of the Capnostat 5 for capnometry. End-tidal CO2 monitoring requires a special clear plastic tube that inserts between the ET tube and the manual resuscitator. There is a horseshoe-shaped grey plastic infrared CO2 monitor that slides over this special tubing. This is the special cable which is available for CO2 monitoring on the Zoll R series. However, this is not usually available in the Albany Medical Centre operating room because we have capnography immediately available on our anesthesia machines. R series will provide a printed EKG strip of events and rhythms during a resuscitation, but also be aware that it will store these events to internal memory or even to a compact flash card, and these events can be downloaded within the next 24 hours. I'm sure that most of you are now reasonably impressed at all the functions provided by this Zoll machine. It really is worth the effort to familiarize yourself with how to access these functions. They're sure to be a big help in your next cardiac arrest scenario.